Let's start with the S&P 500 ES is the ticker symbol. You could look at SPY, you could look at SPX, you could look at XSP, you could look at any of that, but I always use the futures, continuous contracts, gives you the most data. And I love the pivots because that's where they work really, really good. So let's talk about it. Here's where we started the month. Held pivot, 75.50. Bullish above monthly pivot. Where's first target? R1, which was 77.93. So that is what, a 250 point move. Went straight there. So open month, straight to first target, which that's why I love these pivots. And then you can see from there, we've just had issues. Hold on one second. I'm going to look at this. Okay. Last month, look at how well it played levels. You break pivot, resistance, find support at S1. Okay, so we go pivot to R1, pivot to S1. It's that simple. I know that it's not that simple in your brain because you have a lot of what ifs and maybes and emotions that go on. Just don't. And that's why I encourage everybody that has this to study. Like this weekend, study. That's what I'm doing right now. I'm going to study with you and just show you. But I go back several months and I like to look at how they interact. NQ, same deal. We started above on the month on the pivot. We have the bleed off, and then once it recaptures, as soon as it recaptures, you can see wasn't as strong, wasn't green candle till up here. So it was gray, not red, which is always a good start. This is neutral. Gray is neutral. Red is bearish momentum, or at least lack of momentum. Green is bullish upside momentum. As you can see, we regained the pivot. First target, 29,885, all the way from 28,565. So that's about 1,300 points. And it ran straight there. Target to target. Just use it that way and you'll be just fine. Let's look at the Dow. The Dow held the pivot from the open and just went straight up to first target, actually arched above it on the jobs report. I would assume that was the jobs report. And then we come back down. Actually, that wasn't the jobs report because jobs data came out negative, which the stock market loves because that means interest rates aren't going up and they like cheap money. That is the Dow. Bull bear line. Let me run my bull bear line. I didn't really dig into that. Bull bear line for next week will be 77.93 on the S&P. So if it can't get above that, there's no reason to think that we are going higher. You look for a rejection, and then at that point, you'd look for downside targets. If we get above that, look for a retest and then higher, 79.51. I know everybody's preaching 8,000. Not that far away. A couple of good days and we could be there. Don't get stuck in sentiment. Use your levels to make decisions. 29,885. You can see that was the top several times. I know it was Friday because I seen it hit it several times. Resistance. If we can break above, either consolidate or retest, 30,722 is your next target. If not, 28,565 is what you'll look at on the monthly. Of course, we have our weekly targets, and I'm going to do a free video on that in a few minutes to put out. But the new weekly targets will start Sunday at 5 p.m., and I will post those to my paid subscribers. You will have the new weekly targets. Use those to your advantage, and I'll go over that in a free video. But just this is a bigger picture look, so bear with me on that. Let's look at the Russell real quick. The RUT, same deal. Held pivot and is marching towards target 30,089. To me, I will put that in the back of my head. I should set an alert there, but I'm not going to. But when it gets there, that'll be an interesting spot to see where the rest of the indexes are. The Q, the Dow, all that matters to the world. As far as for the S&P, when that gets there, that'll probably be resistance to a more major degree, and that might be where we have issues in other markets. We shall see. SMH, our favorite SMH, because last month, you know that we had this big bleed off. This month, what do? We open above the pivot, gap down or gap up, run right down to the pivot, perfect bounce from 530.43. Had just a little wick below it, but then we take off. Where do we kind of stall out? First target, 578.67. Keep that in mind. Above that, 608 is your next target, 608 for the month. Like I said, we're trading 582 now. And I gave 580 as a very important level on the quarterly pivot. So like I said, we will go over some of that in our free video. NVIDIA. Looks a lot like SMH, and that's what I talk about. The Q is going to do good when what does good? SMH. What's going to help SMH do really well? NVIDIA, SMH, NVIDIA, Taiwan Semiconductor, AMD, MU, A-Lab, a bunch of them, chip makers. Very hot topic right now. So keep that in mind. That's what's going to make the NQ go, because we've seen the Mag 7, the old Mag 7, Apple, Microsoft, Google, Amazon, Tesla, Meta. They were having issues. The chip makers and memory stocks were having issues, and the Mag 7 was doing well, and the NASDAQ didn't care. It was still having a lot of issues. So we got to know who is driving this market, and SMH is a good example of that. So we gap up, same thing, looks just like SMH, retest of the pivot on NVIDIA, 197.69, perfect retest. Now we're trading 223. Where do we lose steam though? That's what's always important to me. When is it time to take some profits? Target to target. Here it is, 222.18. Very important. MU had a rough day, I believe. It tried to recover, only down 390. MU though, same, breaks, first target, right? So it breaks down to the pivot, runs to first target at 933 from 786. That's a huge move if you're an options player. So for the month, we have to watch who's in control of the NASDAQ. SMH is a big part of that. Of course, your Mag 7, you can go to MAGS. And I'm not trying to confuse anybody, but if you want to learn, listen, MAGS, the Magnificent 7. Pivot and just been trading a little sideways, okay? This is in no man's land. So at this point, you flip over to your weekly and you pay attention to those levels. So when we get the new weeklies, it'll come out Sunday at 5 p.m. Central. Pay attention to those levels starting Monday and see where this stuff's going to go, okay? Above the weekly pivot, you can remain bullish because we're above monthly pivots. Below the weekly pivot, take caution. It's pretty simple. Just compare the two and play the game. AMD, not as strong as what we've seen in some. That earnings really killed it. So you had the big pop from the pivot, 461.79 all the way to 524, went a little above it, and then earnings crashed it back down to where? The pivot, and now we're holding. So for me, the market seems to have a little strength here, maybe towards the last week or two of August, and then we will see. But right now, the conflict's trying to chill out. In Iran, they're trying to make things work. We'll see how that all works out. Doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, we've just got to play the levels. This was another big tail that I've talked about, the VIX, volatility index. How are they pricing in future issues into this market? You can see we had the little pop on some newsy stuff, but what did we do? We broke below the pivot, traded right up to it right here. Let me open that up a little further. Right up to it, and then down we go. Never could get back above this monthly pivot. Pay attention to that. Last month I was telling everybody, hey, we are above the monthly pivot. There's no reason to get crazy to the upside. We're above the pivot. Do not fight that. That volatility needs to get below the pivot. You can see the month before, look, once it gets above the pivot, it's problems, okay? So for the VIX, set an alert, 1603, put it on your chart. Say, hey, we get above this, I need to take note. Do we get above it and retest and hold? That can be an issue, okay? That will tell you that you're not guessing. Like, hey, I think that this. No, I know that the VIX is below the monthly pivot, so I'm not trying to be bearish because all my other names are above the monthly pivot. NQ, ES, every blah, 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 blah. Okay. We're right up to first target. So we're going to pay attention to that and use it as a bull bear line. But below this monthly pivot, what are we bearish until 1332? About another $1.40 away. The VIX can do erratic things, but if it breaks 1603, pay attention. That momentum and that steam might be running out of the market. And at that point, it's probably time to be a little more defensive, especially when we're using our levels to correlate that idea. Okay. Let's look at oil, gold, and silver. Oil. What does oil say? Oil says what? Strait of Hormuz. There's no strait. We don't care about no Strait of Hormuz. It's got everybody a little puzzled. Not myself, because I've been with the market long enough to know, like, they only let things matter when they want them to matter. And right now the strait we could go over and put the Hoover Dam across it and it wouldn't matter because they don't want it to matter. Okay. You will learn that in the market. Hey, we missed jobs Friday, big time. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. It won't matter until they're ready for it to matter. So use your levels, play them wisely, have a good risk reward, and you'll do just fine. Oil, look. What do we got? Red candles. We test and hold once, but as soon as you break, and it broke in a big way, no bueno. It's no good. Not good. Below pivot, below $80.10. Put a reminder here. Create alert. We get above that level, I want to know about it, because what you'll see is oil gets above that level. VIX gets above that level. All of a sudden, we're starting to run out of steam in the NASDAQ, the S&P, the Dow, the Russell. It all shifts the same, right? These things will influence it. We won't even start talking about treasuries and bonds and the dollar. VIX, oil, think about those things. Know them. Know who's driving the NASDAQ, which is going to drive the S&P. That Dow can do whatever it wants, but that S&P will be exclusively driven higher, much higher by the NASDAQ. The Dow can try to help, but it's only 30 companies. NASDAQ's 100, and the heaviest weighted in the NASDAQ is also in the S&P, basically 9 out of the 10. Know what you got. Don't just go out here swinging. What I would do if I didn't know all that and I don't have time to learn it, this is exactly what I would do. I would play this just like a little kid playing a game. We get to a line, doesn't matter what line it is, it's a decision. Am I buying it here for a retest of the pivot? Great. At least I know exactly where I'm wrong. Okay. And that could go for any ticker. If we were going up to a level and I've bought it down here off of the pivot, we're going up. Am I selling it here, or am I just managing the trade, looking for a retest and a hold to go higher? Play it like, turn off everything and just play this like a little simple game and you'll be just fine. I like to know what's going on under the hood because I've been brought up that way and I know all those metrics. Doesn't matter. Use your levels. That's all you have to do. So that's oil. Let's look at gold. I'll get off my soapbox. Gold consolidated last month all the way across this pivot. Look, just consolidation, right? Not making big runs, not getting up into targets, just consolidation. Great buys off this pivot though. What's it do this month? Starts below the pivot, gets some green momentum candles, gets above, plays with the pivot. So to me, I'd be thinking more consolidation. If it holds this, we haven't had a negative drawdown. It holds this, you could try some. That's what I would be thinking, 41.35. We get the rip all the way to first target. Where does it run out of steam? First target. So pay attention to these targets. They very much so matter. Silver, same deal. Started the month lazy. Gets on with green candles. Perfect retest right there. perfect retest. First target 58 or pivot 58.65. First target is 65.69. Where does silver run out of juice? The high was 65.48. Missed it by 20 cents. I don't know how much better we can get. Okay. Use these levels, use them to your advantage. Reach out to me, message me through Substack, say, hey, I'm having trouble with XYZ, and I will communicate as clearly as I can how I would look at that situation. And from there, let me do the free live video and just look at some bigger picture stuff. And like I said, our new weekly levels will be out Sunday at 5 p.m. Central. It might be a shade late. I think we have a prior commitment that's going to run me a little late, but I will have them out to you as soon as possible Sunday evening on all the futures. So S&P, NASDAQ, we'll post those, silver, gold, oil. If you want something else, let me know because I will give you that. So from there, let's just trade safe. Just play the levels. Be patient. I say patience, P-A-Y, patience. Okay. So be patient, wait for your levels, make your decision there, know where you're wrong, and you'll be in great shape. All right, let's dive out to some larger picture stuff, and I'll post this. As always, we will talk soon.